Have you heard this statement, what gets measured gets done? I'm a big believer in it. I want to talk more about it. What do you measure in your early stage SaaS business? Hi, this is Joseph from Growthfluence. We are a market research and advisory firm for SaaS companies. We help them land and expand enterprise clients. In this video, let's quickly delve and find out what are the elements you should measure as a SaaS company. I'm going to flip my camera and talk more about this. Okay, it's numbers time. So SaaS founders, if you're in early stage, these are the numbers you want to track. And this is absolutely important because a lot of times I see SaaS founders really not focusing on numbers, and what they really focus on only on the product side of things. But if you don't have these numbers going right for you and the ratios going right for you, it's not great, because that simply means that we are moving either towards growth or death, and I don't like death. So let's really help you grow, right? So the first thing that you want to really track in your base data dashboard, right, in the growth based data dashboard, is your monthly recurring revenue. This, I can't stress the importance of measuring this, because this is what is interesting for your investor. This is what should be interesting for you. What is your monthly recurring revenue? Because basing on this metric is where you can plan your budgets, and you can see patterns, and you can find out attributions, and so on and so forth. So how you calculate monthly recurring revenue is very, very simple. It's number of your customers into average billed amount. So let's say you have 10 customers paying you $100, then it's basically $1,000 monthly recurring revenue, right? Simple, straightforward. It's a very important metric to calculate. Second thing is ARPU, which stands for average revenue per user, right? So this is again an important metric to calculate, which is to know that what is the per unit income that you're making from a user, and you're looking at it from an average point of view, right? And so the way you calculate this is you're calculating this by your monthly recurring revenue and dividing it by total number of active customers. So remember, this is very important, not to just divide it by customers, but active customers is going to give you your average revenue per user. Okay, this is again a very important metric to calculate, to understand that whether you are in the right direction, because if your average revenue per user is not optimum, then it could really show you a lot of different symptoms of why it could be, and you could go and then work on those areas. Third is the lifetime value of your customer, right? So the point is, a lot of times I've seen founders only focusing on one aspect of things, and they do not focus on the lifetime value, right? So lifetime value is basically the amount a customer will spend on your product or service throughout their whole relationship at the time that they're going to use your app, and hence we call it lifetime, right? So for example, if you charge $100 for your product and the customer stays with you for 12 months, then the lifetime value is basically $100 into 12, which is $1,200, right? So this is important, and the primary reason LTV is important is it basically it drives what you can spend to acquire new customers. So if your customer acquisition cost is 100, that the same customer has a lifetime value of 500. So basically you are earning $400, right? So you want to ensure that you are tracking this. So it's, in simple terms, it's calculated as what you really bill your customers into the number of months, right? So what you bill your customers into number of months is going to give you your lifetime value. Okay, the next important aspect that you want to really track is customer acquisition cost. And customer acquisition cost is simple and straightforward. It's basically adding all your like costs to basically acquire a customer, and then you divide it by the new number of customers, right? So the number of new customers, right? So very simple thing is you would have expenditures, which is marketing based expenditure, marketing and sales, people's salaries, right? You also might be running ads, you might be having some affiliate payouts. All of that added together is going to give you a cost. And let's say the total number of new customers, is basically in the whole time period, right, is let's say X. Then you just divide the total number of costs divided by X, is going to give you customer acquisition cost. So let's say, for example, you're spending about so in simple terms, all the costs divided by number of customers is going to give you customer acquisition cost. So let's say, for example, you spend about $10,000 on marketing expenditure, you spent about $50,000 on marketing and sales salaries, you spent let's say $5,000 on your ads, right? So you basically have ended up spending about $55,000 in terms of your cost. And let's assume you have about 10,000 customers, then your customer acquisition cost is basically $5.5, right? Make sense? So this is how you're going to look at it. Now it's very important to understand these two. The golden ratio is the lifetime value should be at least minimum 3 times of your customer acquisition cost. That means you're going to grow really well in the future. It shows that you might have a very good growth curve. Okay, great. Next is cost to service. So what is the cost basically to service your customer, right? So that's a very important metric to again calculate. A lot of times I've seen that companies do not calculate the cost to service aspect of it, but it's basically calculated the number of tickets that you basically get on your help desk software, and what's basically the cost of servicing and the number of tickets that you're raising there, right? So those are elements that you want to really track there. Okay, next is product qualified lead. Product qualified lead is an important aspect that I see oftentimes people really missing, and you can't afford to really miss this because it's so important to track. So product qualified lead is nothing but whether that lead is corresponding to the metrics that a good customer has. So which means they have higher lifetime value, they have lower customer acquisition cost, the churn out, they don't leave you basically. So the churn rate is lower, almost leading to negative. This is a good customer. And if you start finding patterns of good customers, you can then start seeing whether they come from a certain industry, they come from a certain segment, they have certain characteristics, and then you're able to map it and say, hey, this lead is product qualified lead. Next is you want to also look at demos to sign up ratio. How many people show up for the demo and how many people basically take the demo as against how many people sign up post the demo, right? It's very important to calculate these conversions to see what's working, what's not working, and so on and so forth. Next is you want to calculate your monthly active users, right? So you're looking at how many users actually signed up are paid divided by number of users who are active in a given month, right? So you want to actually calculate that and see your monthly active users, and you measure it from that point of view, right? So it's important to actually do that, and basically you're the number of unique users who have performed some action on your product. So basically any action or event that they have taken and done. Next is churn rate, how many people are really leaving you, right? And it's important to actually like calculate the churn rate. So basically like you want to calculate two important metrics. This is user churn and revenue churn. So user churn is basically like calculated with how many number of customers cancelled, right, in the last 30 days, divided by the active customers in the 30 days into 100, right? So that's the way you're going to get it. And which means, let's say a 5% user churn would mean that 5% of total customers you had 30 days ago have cancelled within the last 30 days, right? Revenue churn is calculated by monthly recurring revenue lost due to downgrades and cancellation in the last 30 days divided by total monthly recurring revenue. So this is lost and into, again, 100. So if you say 5% revenue churn rate, which means 5% of your monthly recurring revenue as it stood 30 days ago, to churn in the past 30 days, right? The last thing you want to also calculate is viral coefficient to see if you are in the growth curve, to see how many of your customers are actively inviting other people into the network. And so you want to really calculate your viral coefficient by, number of customers, that you have into average number of referrals each customer sends into, conversion rate, how much percentage is converting is what you're looking at. So basically you're dividing this whole thing by 100, and that kind of gives you a viral coefficient. So let's take, for example, your current customers are 100 and you multiply, let's say each of them are sending 5 on an average, so it's basically like 100 into 5, and the percentage of referrals that took action, let's say 2 out of 5 are doing it, so which means the conversion rate is 40%. So now let's put it together, like 100 customers sent 5 referrals, that's like 500 referrals total. 40% of people sign up for it, that means you gain 200 customers. The coefficient number then is 200 divided by 100 is 2, which is very good. Got it? So these are numbers that you want to calculate, and it's important that you do that. It's a little longer video, but this is important to know, because if you do this, you're going to grow, and keep tracking these numbers. I trust this, 10 elements really helped you. This 10 metrics are so important for you to track, and we actually share this in our early stage program that we have for, early stage founders. It's called Pivot, and, they really find value in this, and I hope and find that you would also find value in this. Wishing you all success. Keep at it, keep growing. That's my 2 cents for the day. Thanks so much for tuning in.